Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
Joining me now is Tara Roditz. It's been a while since she's been back with us. I saw an article the other day. Here he is. 60 missing kids found in Florida during largest rescue in U.S. history. And when I heard that or read that headline, I thought, I've got to get a hold of my friend Tara Roditz. You guys remember she's an HHS whistleblower. Her face, her picture, her video of her speaking before her congressional testimony has gone viral all over, as you guys know. And so she's kind of become the face of this movement to find these missing children. And we have some great news and some very, very disturbing video clips to play. Testimony by RFK Jr., the things he's admitting now. You know, some people get called conspiracy theorists and other things. But here we now have the secretary admitting what, well, many of us were reporting, particularly Tara Roditz. Tara, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Brandon, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to sit down and talk with you. And thank you so much, because there is good news to report. As you know, the Trump administration is fiercely devoted to defending and protecting children and finding the missing children. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about it.
Well, I appreciate your being a whistleblower and bringing this to the attention of the country, thus the president, and so that his administration can do something about it. And we are so pleased with him and his administration and yourself and RFK Jr. and all that so many are doing. It's a team effort. You guys have been doing great. Here is the headline again. 60 migrant kids found in Florida during largest rescue in U.S. history. Can you tell me about this? I mean, I guess the Attorney General in Florida is behind it. What do you know about this case?
Well, so I can't really talk about any of the cases or tradecraft. I know it's so hard when you have to say that, but that is not even the largest case that's being worked. So Stay tuned, stand by. There's more coming. So I just want to, let you know that when a new president takes over and he puts in new policies, new staff, and new mission focus, incredible things happen. And that's what we're seeing now. New policies, new staff, and new mission focus.
Isn't that something? 60 children. He says the 2-week operation saved the lives of at least 60 children, according to this article, and saw 8 adults arrested on charges, including human trafficking, child endangerment, drug possession, and drug trafficking. Operation Dragon Eye involved over 20 agencies and 100 people. Most of the children were ages 9 to 17 years old, were found in the Tampa Bay area. Their stories are heartbreaking. Berger said the children have been debriefed and provided with physical, psychological care as well, but some of them required additional assistance, maternal care. According to Natasha Nascimento of Refining Refuge, many of the young girls were pregnant. She says the operation didn't recover children, it recovered generations. It didn't just recover children, it recovered generations. She went on to tell the story of one of the girls who was pregnant with the baby of her trafficker and what happened the first time she heard her own child's heartbeat. And when she was brought to Baycare for medical assistance, and to one of my team members, Addie, who I've already mentioned, Addie had the great privilege of going with this child to get her first ultrasound. She was in her second trimester of pregnancy, and she had never, ever heard the beating heart of her baby. And so the ultrasound began, and she heard her baby's heartbeat for the very first time, and she began to weep. And all she said to Addie was, "My baby." But this moment awakened something in this child, and it shifted something in this child. It was almost as though she realized that instead of just doing the soul-searching work of surviving, she was willing to fight for the life that was inside of her. She went on to thank law enforcement officers, others involved, telling them that they not only gave this young girl a second chance at life, but they also gave her baby a chance at a fresh start. And so every single person that is sitting in this room, the officers who knocked on that door, You didn't just give our child a chance. You didn't just protect her, give a child a chance. You didn't just protect her. You protected her child. Interesting. I think I messed up though. I think that is Nascimento. That's the last name of the no. Who is that? That's a lady that works with one of these organizations. It is a she. I'm hoping I got that right. Natasha. Yeah, Natasha. It is a she then. That brings a tear to your eye, to be honest with you. I don't know how. I guess it's a God-given trait of a mother, but to have this sensitivity, to weep, to say my baby, to clearly be protective of this child, even under the circumstances of being trafficked and impregnated by her trafficker. I guess you people go through these things and they somehow, you might think become so hardened and jaded, but she still has a sensitivity to her about her unborn child, doesn't she?
Yeah, yes, she does. And what's really sad, Brannon, is that there are many children like this all across the United States. And it's a result of the failed open border policies of the Biden administration. We know, and we were reporting, a whole team of whistleblowers. You've had many of them on your show. We've been reporting since early 2021 that children were being trafficked across our border, and they were being sent to bad actors who were using them for labor, for sex, and other unspeakable things. This has been going on for more than 4 years, but not anymore, not under this administration. Like I said, they have new policies in place. Some of the policies, DNA testing. Imagine that, to make sure that the child is going to someone they're related to. Requiring official ID. We're not accepting anymore at ORR a driver's license that's international that nobody can verify. They're fingerprinting every single adult in the household where the child is going to be going to make sure there are no other predators there. Also, verification of income. Part of the reason that traffickers bring the kids here is so that they can earn money off of the kids instead of the sponsor providing a safe home for the kids. So they're verifying that there's that there's actually funds available to care for the child. This just makes sense. There are common sense things they're doing to include ending placements of children in shelters where there have been reports of abuse. It's just unacceptable. And the sad thing about this case and many others like it is that there's a helpline for children to call, and the Biden administration didn't even answer over 65,000 of the calls. And so the Trump administration has now gotten through about 60% of the phone calls that came into a hotline. So children saying that they needed help and no one ever answered the phone. So this administration is making changes, and a lot of it has to do with new staff because, as my good friend and DHS whistleblower Aaron Stevenson always says, is personnel is policy. And the people who you have working, you want people who are dedicated to the mission. And so the new staff at the Office of Refugee Resettlement includes Acting Director Salazar, and she is former Homeland Security Investigations. They have Senior Advisor Fabricator. He's retired from Immigration and Customs Enforcement. There's other law enforcement there. And this team that I had the privilege to meet yesterday, they are protecting the vulnerable and they are pursuing the vile. So the third thing is their new mission, and this is their multi-agency task force. So they are working with multiple agencies to do data sharing that they've never done before, and not for this program, not to find these children. And so they are ramping up a new program, and they'll need some help. Hopefully they'll bring back some of the whistleblowers to do that, to locate the missing children and then investigate the allegations of exploitation and trafficking. So it's pretty incredible what the change of administration can do.
Isn't it though? Isn't
yeah.
it though? And we got some
Absolutely.
really shocking clips to play for you by RFK Jr. Again, shocking what he's admitting, and to think that this went on in that last administration. But to have the Secretary of Health and Human Services come out and admit these things. We just obviously want to commend RFK Jr. for coming out and saying these things, admitting, telling the American people what's going on. I'm going to play those for you in just a second, but first I want to wrap up this on Florida. Listen to a little bit of what the Attorney General in Florida had to say.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Today is a big announcement. It's a tough situation that got us here, but we're excited to announce the successful completion of the largest child rescue operation, not just in Florida's history, but in United States history. In a 2-week period, this team, a collective work of many agencies and law enforcement personnel, rescued 60 kids. Kids that were in critical danger, many the victims of trafficking, many missing kids. We got a lot of people up here, and that's because it took a lot of people to get this done. What makes Florida the rule of law state is we're great at working together in collaboration across agency lines. So I'm excited to have here with me today.
All right, so there we go. Do we know how many of these kids yet, Tara, that were illegal aliens, or, because you said missing children, were any of these American kids that have been kidnapped off the streets?
So that is a great question, and we'd have to reach out to Florida to find that out. So I don't know the breakdown of how many of the children were American children, if they were all American children, if they were all unaccompanied children. I don't know the breakdown. That's a good question. We need to reach out to Florida to find out.
I've got 3 kids. I've got a daughter. I got a granddaughter that'll be a year old here in July. We were super protective of our kids. I guess we could always be more protective, but we were pretty protective. But I would even be more protective today, knowing all that I know now. What do you say to young parents, knowing all you know now and how prevalent sex trafficking of children is? What do you say to the young moms out there, or the would-be moms, or maybe to the grandparents who should be talking to their grandkids, or their children who have their grandchildren? What do you say to these families about the necessity for vigilance here on this topic?
Yeah, there absolutely must be vigilance, and they need to get educated on how it's happening. So at americasfuture.net, I travel with the group. We go around the country. Our next stop is going to be California. We just came from Wisconsin. It's called Get in the Fight. It's the Get in the Fight campaign that helps parents, grandparents understand what is happening, what does grooming look like, what are the signs that I need to be aware of that something is wrong with my child or my grandchild. Suddenly, my child came home with very expensive gifts, or suddenly they're getting very secretive. Their pattern of life is changing. We teach parents and grandparents signs to look for, and then how they can contact either law enforcement or other support groups to get help. Absolutely. It's super important. And most people, I know when I was growing up, my parents didn't even know a thing about this. So they just never would have imagined something like this was happening. But it's very important today. Parents must be vigilant, especially because of the technology. You think your child is sitting in their room, and actually when they're in their room, when they have their phone, that door is open for any person to come in and out of. You're not seeing them, but the child is seeing them. Wow. So it's very important. My niece, who I just happened to see over the weekend, she showed me that like a 42-year-old guy had reached out to say hello to her. She'll be starting middle school this coming year.
How did he find
crazy.
her? Did he find her on her profile on like a social media or what?
Yeah, just on social media. You think your child is chatting with friends, and they're chatting, anybody can break into their chats. And they're attempting to target school-age children and groom them. And that's how they do it. It's absolutely astounding. So you have to be vigilant if your child or your grandchild has a cell phone. Absolutely.
Here's RFK Jr. just yesterday, correct, Tara?
Yes.
This is just
Yes.
yesterday, folks. Watch this.
The Biden administration lost track of all those children is because they were emphasizing speed over security. And there were political reasons for that. They wanted to get the kids out of U.S. custody, so they were handing them off to anybody. They didn't require background checks. They didn't require identification even. I've watched horror stories of the same person picking up child after child after child, using different names and different addresses. One of the addresses was a strip club. One of the addresses was a parking lot. One of the addresses was an empty lot that was filled with shipping containers. And this character was getting all these kids. One person got 42 kids to one address. What we're doing now is DNA testing on every sponsor. We're doing personal identification. We're doing background checks, and we're doing income verification.
Wow. Shipping containers. One person, 42 children. I want to get into this more in another clip right on the other side of the break, folks. Tara Rodas is my guest. See her X account there under her name? You should be following her. She's putting up great reports. We'll be right back with more. Don't go away.
True beauty isn't applied. It's nourished from within. Bella Grace Elixir, a luxurious, scientifically crafted blend designed to restore radiance, vitality, and strength at a cellular level. At the heart of Bella Grace Elixir lies Cat's Claw, a powerful herb from the Amazon known for its ability to control inflammation and protect collagen. With Verisol collagen peptides, it goes beyond the surface, stimulating your body's natural collagen production to reduce fine lines, improve skin elasticity, and promote real, visible change. Bella Grace Elixir doesn't stop at collagen. It includes astaxanthin, one of nature's most powerful antioxidants. 6,000 times stronger than vitamin C, astaxanthin protects your skin from harmful UV rays and environmental stress, while locking in hydration and promoting a radiant, youthful glow. Experience the power of nature with Bella Grace Elixir at melissahousebg.com. Discover the science behind Bella Grace Elixir at melissahousebg.com. Read powerful testimonials from doctors and real customers who've experienced life-changing results, and explore other wellness products from Bella Grace. Bella Grace Elixir is more than just a product. It's a solution. Visit melissahousebg.com today.
All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Tara Rodas joins us again. Let's have you comment on that before we go to the next clip of RFK Jr. One guy picking up 42 children, shipping containers. What do you know about the shipping containers?
Well, what we know is what the secretary reported is that children were just dropped off into lots where there were shipping containers. This is unacceptable. This is something that we were reporting on in early 2021. We were saying people were getting multiple children from multiple sites. You didn't need to be an investigator. I'm not an investigator, right? But anybody can see that you shouldn't be delivering 5, 10, 15 children to the same address. They knew it was happening then. They chose to do nothing about it. As a matter of fact, what they did do was try to stonewall any investigation into it by retaliating against the whistleblowers. I wasn't the only person who got walked off my job. There were other people here in the DC headquarters office who were walked out of the building because they were expressing concern. I was walked off the Pomona Fairplex, my job, in California. Now, fortunately, my agency was not going to play games with HHS and immediately recalled me to DC, even offering to send agents to come pick me up. They were concerned, but they didn't care. You may recall that under my sworn testimony, I said what my boss told me was, we don't get sued by traffickers. The legal position of the Department of Health and Human Services under Secretary Becerra and the Biden administration was, we don't get sued by traffickers. So you are to move those kids in 10 to 14 days. And it's just the horror. It's unthinkable. And Brannon, I think if I had not witnessed it with my own eyes, I can't even imagine that a federal employee could say something like that.
What do they mean by that? We don't get sued by traffickers. I don't understand. What do they mean by that?
Yeah, well, I was raising concerns about that we were sending a child to the address that we had already turned over to law enforcement for suspected trafficking of 4 children. And I said, we're sending another child? Another child we're sending to this address? And the response was, Tara, we only get sued if we keep kids in care too long.
Oh.
We don't get sued by traffickers.
Okay, now I get it. But who would sue them when they keep kids too long? Who would sue them? Some nonprofit group that, like a whistleblower type organization, would sue them to bring them into compliance or move quicker?
That's what some people have done in the past. They're playing games. They don't want the children to be, or the sponsors of the children looked into. Mm-hmm. So this was what created this whole problem.
So in other words, if you sue, you can speed it up. You speed it up. You don't do all the background checks. So the lawsuits, if I'm hearing you correctly, the lawsuits were done in order to create the problem of elimination of background checks. I want to speed it up, speed it up, speed it up. So the lawsuits were just the way to speed things up. So the process of verification and backgrounds wasn't done. So you could actually get the children and then traffic them.
Well, they had changed all the rules. So they had taken out like the DNA testing. They had taken out fingerprinting of sponsors.
That all takes time.
They had,
That all takes time.
Oh, I know. You cannot move children quickly in 10 to 14 days if you were doing proper screening and then vetting and then concurrent vetting of your sponsors. There's no way to move children quickly. And the goal under the Biden administration was speed over safety, right? Secretary Kennedy, I believe, said the word speed over security.
He did.
So speed over safety. No, that is totally unacceptable. And I know that the average length of stay has gone up quite a bit under the Trump administration, as it should.
Length of stay where?
In the custody of Health and Human Services until a proper sponsor can be screened and then vetted. So that's what they're doing now. As Secretary Kennedy mentioned, I mentioned the new policies. I'll just say them one more time. DNA testing is required to ensure proof of relationship. Also, official ID. Instead of accepting they kept telling us, oh, you're not a professional, so you can't tell if the ID is fake or not. But we saw IDs like international driver's licenses. They were allowed to use anything in order to move the kids faster when we were working at the Pomona Fairplex.
Obviously, it's about money as well, right? I mean, it's about money. It's a criminal money operation. How did the Biden administration or anyone tied to them, how did they benefit from this money? Was this money being paid under the table? Was this criminal actors getting involved and thus, again, money under the table? I mean, if they're making money on these kids and the Biden administration, as you're saying, was speeding these things up to stop the background checks, that shows you there had to be people on the inside that were benefiting from this business model, so-called, right?
Yeah. So there's 2 ways. One is just by giving the contracts themselves. And we know that there was a Biden transition person, Andrew Lorenzen Strait, who was caught on undercover camera saying he gave the contracts the Washington way. So he gave the contracts to Endeavors and Cherokee Federal, and that is the Cherokee Federal actually serviced the site where I was at the Pomona Fairplex. And the money that we're talking about is $100 million a month.
From the federal government to these contractors.
Yes. So the amount of money that was being spent, and that didn't even include the transportation. So the contractors benefited insanely, right? Southwest Key, all these different contractors, Endeavors, they were all making insane amounts of money. So
and the Washington way is kickbacks. Is that right? Is that what that means?
Well, I'm hoping that investigations that may have started already or may be underway are going to follow the money and see how all that lands. So that's one way the money was made. The other way the money was made, if you're thinking about the perspective of the trafficker themselves, the trafficker who's a business person, right? They move money, they move guns, they move drugs, they move children. And they can sell their drugs and their guns and the kids. And unfortunately, they see kids as commodities.
The drugs and the guns, you really can only sell one time. The kids you can sell over and over. So
exactly.
It's kind of the subscription model. You know, a lot of people do subscription-based business because you get paid every month, right? Over and over and over and over. Yeah. Well, they sell the drugs, they sell the guns, are gone. But the children, they're selling them over and over and over. Is that part of their business model? Is that why they're doing it in part?
Yeah, that is unfortunate.
The child trafficking must be bigger than drugs.
Oh, absolutely. It has eclipsed. This is what law enforcement is saying, that child trafficking has eclipsed the drug trade because, for the reason that you said, you sell a drug one time, whereas once you have the child in your possession, you can sell them 10 to 15 times a day, day after day, week after week.
And what's the life expectancy of that child?
Estimates say that a child who's trafficked, and it depends on the age when it starts, it can be 2 to 7 years. Yeah, their little bodies can't take it.
No, of course
I know survivors who have surgeries every single year as a result of the trauma that they faced. People don't understand. Most people don't want to look into the darkness or even contemplate what happens to children who are the most vulnerable people in our population, who have no defense. They can't understand what's really happening and why it's so important that this administration is making these major changes.
100%. Watch this next video with RFK Jr., please.
Good morning.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi, I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I'm your HHS Secretary, and today I got to visit the War Room at the Office of Refugee Resettlement, which is one of the sub-agencies here at HHS.
Can we prove force, fraud, or coercion to get a human trafficking case?
ORR has been fiercely devoted towards trying to locate the 291,000 children that disappeared during the Biden administration, the unaccompanied minors who came across the Mexican border. The most sacred duty that we have is to protect our children. And so I want to thank all of you for the work that you're doing, and God bless you all.
291,000 children that are missing. I know it's just a guess. How many of those children, what percentage you think are even still alive?
Wow, that's not being law enforcement. I don't want to make a guess. What I will say is that many law enforcement professionals have told me, they're like, Tara, you have to know that a lot of the children, I'm like, a lot? Like what percentage? They're like, you just need to be prepared. No, you need to be prepared that a lot of the children are not alive. Now, what we do know is that kids can be found, and that's what we're focused on. Just like that girl, right? Trafficked, pregnant, but then suddenly, wow, she hears her baby's heartbeat, and she's like, you know what? I'm gonna get out of this. I'm gonna live, and I'm gonna make a way. And so there's so many children right now. And Brandon, I think one thing that your viewers need to grasp is that this unaccompanied children program that was like a white glove delivery of service of children, that was only one way that children were coming across the border. Children were also coming across the border in fake family units. So the real number, like if you talk to the real analysts and experts, like the DHS whistleblower, Aaron Stevenson, who you've had on before, he emphasizes that we don't know the real number. We could have more than 1 million children missing by the time you're combining the unaccompanied children, plus the children who cross the border in fake family units, plus the missing children here in the United States who are missing from foster care and CPS and other things. as people say, it's upwards of 1 million children we could be looking for.
I've got about 3 minutes left in this segment, Tara. What would they have done with that gal's child if she had not been rescued? What would they have done when her child was born? What would they have done with that baby?
This is something that a lot of people don't want to think about. Sometimes they just put them in the trash. Sometimes they will sacrifice those children.
Like in an occultic ritual.
Yeah, they've found altars in houses. I mean, this has gone on for years. People have known about it. I've talked to people who have actually had this happen to them. If you would have told me this 5 years ago, I would have said, you probably need a little more tinfoil in your hat. But now that I know people who've survived it and who've been through it, it's very unfortunate what happens. It's why this is urgent.
I even hate to ask it, but I know enough to know about this from studying, even this week, a book written by the former supreme leader in Iran, Khomeini, on the proper way to have sexual relations with even a child. We actually showed that this week and read from it. So would it be out of speculation that they would even traffic infants?
Oh, they do traffic infants. Absolutely. Yeah. Laura Logan has done extensive work on this, and it's a horror that I wish I never knew. There was a bust in Florida recently where they talked about how they had to watch, the videos. These guys had made pornography using infants and toddlers, and that the sheriff who was sharing the story was in tears. He said, "You don't know what my agents have had to go through to watch what people did to these children and hear them screaming." People don't understand the evil that we're dealing with.
You're absolutely right. They do not. They don't fully understand the evil. I think some of that is maybe our conditioning in America. Like I've been saying, we kind of put a governor on our brain and we only accept so much, or we want to hear so much. And I hate to say it, I'm sure even by now, some people have turned this interview off because they're like, I just can't hear it. But we have to hear it. The Bible says, have nothing to do with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose it. And that's what we're doing. Let me show you her X account, folks. I hope you'll follow her and the great work she's doing at Tara Lee Rodas. TEARALEERODAS. You're welcome back here anytime. You are doing God's work. The Lord had a lot to say about children. He had a lot to say about children, didn't he?
Yes.
And we're thankful for the Trump administration, aren't we?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And I would just say this last thing. This administration is serious about finding these kids. And so if you are a child in danger, this administration would say to you, please hold on. We're coming. And if you are a predator, trafficker going after these kids, you better get running because we're coming.
Tara Rodas, thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
We'll be right back after this break.
Nature has a rhythm, a quiet strength, a way of restoring, protecting, and renewing us. Wellness isn't just about how you feel today. It's the quiet choices you make for tomorrow. At myvitamin.com/worldview, we've made daily self-care simple. Quality vitamins, daily supplements, and targeted nutrition. myvitamin.com/worldview makes it easy. Pure ingredients thoughtfully combined, tailored for your body. Formulated by a doctor who has over 25 years of medical practice experience and is a certified functional medicine provider. Visit myvitamin.com/worldview today and take the next step towards strength, balance, and resilience. Discover the wide range of med packs made for you and your loved ones. What you nurture today becomes the strength you walk in tomorrow.
I'll tell you one little quick story. We had a Worldview Weekend client who lived in California, lost their house. Very wealthy guy. He didn't use Bitcoin. He came over here, drove to Arizona with $286,000 worth of his gold because he had no money and no house available. His banks were shut down because he couldn't have access to his bank account.
Was this during the fire? Was this during the fires?
During the fire. Didn't have his driver's license. He lost it. The state wouldn't give him a new license because he had no active mailing address. Real mess. So he came to Arizona to buy a house. He's moving everything over. He said, the only thing I got in my possession that I can get liquid with right now is my gold. I gave him a check for $286,000, and guess what? I didn't need his social, his driver's license. Sort of smiled, and I said, you know, I know you and Brandon talked about how this worked, but boy, this is great. I feel good. I got my money. Nobody bothered me, and I'm protected, and it's private.
Just simply go to worldviewgold.com, fill out the form, worldviewgold.com.